welcome to this edition of PACTS International TV. I'm Derek Robinson. We have an exciting, action-packed show today with a wide variety of guests and activities. First, PACTS correspondent Katie Pieterse interviews a group of parade goers in New Orleans, Louisiana. Then Scott Kramer speaks about PACTS International's letter of validation, its relevance, and how community members can obtain a copy. Then several group leaders, support group leaders, and rally organizers share about their events and activities, such as Melanie Britchen, president of IGATOR, the International TI group in Belgium, who celebrated its 7-year anniversary back in April. Amy Dale, leader of the support group in Portland, Oregon, shares about her group and how it got started. Then Scott Kramer shares about his support group in Los Angeles. Jim Swartz, support group leader in Cleveland, has a brief presentation about his group's activities. And rounding up with Ann Baker in Chicago, recapping her rally in Washington, D.C. from April of this year. And to those in need of shielding solutions, David Ruble and Domnitz join us to speak about the Cyber Shield and how it has made a radical difference in the lives of many Cyber Shield users. Then Matt Ehlers will be sharing about the PACTS SuperStore, and Gloria Sterling-McGill, managing editor for the discussion, will be here to promote the latest issue of our PACTS magazine. All coming up next in this edition of PACTS International TV.
Hi, it's Katie Pieterse, PACTS International correspondent, and I am here in New Orleans today. And we just got finished doing a very, very fun, playful parade today that made the whole city of the French Quarter be extremely happy. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of people that are in the parade, and I'm going to share a little bit about them. So this is fabulous Laura.
Hello.
And this is Molly.
Hi.
And this is
Ian.
Mr. Dallas. And they were all in the parade called
It's the Mystic Crew of Squid.
Mystic Crew Squid. Now that sounds like a really unusual name for a parade. Can you please explain what that name means and why it's an important parade in New Orleans?
Well, it's important because our friend Sid, he worked for Acme Brick. He was doing his retirement parade. And so he is in and out of New Orleans every couple months. We come sometimes a couple times a year. And he decided for a retirement party, he was going to have a parade in the French Quarter. And so that's what we did. And his nickname is the Squid.
His nickname is the Squid. And that's, see how simple a parade can be formed just by some nickname. And I think that's amazing. Molly, hi. Please share a little bit about you and what's important about the parade and what part you took in it and what's going on in New Orleans.
Well, Sid's one of my old friends. So my husband and I flew in from Corpus Christi.
That's where I'm from.
Oh, wow, to come do this parade. And I have to say, I've had a lot of fun in my life, but today was one of the funnest days ever. Being in that parade was, I just couldn't believe it. It was so much fun.
It was so much fun, and I didn't even know about it. And I met these wonderful ladies, and they said, please be in our parade. And I jumped in and just had the best time ever. What I have to say today, New Orleans is an amazing city, and my positive thoughts for you, as always, is you're amazing, you're wonderful, and whatever you're going through, take 5 to 10, 30 minutes out of your day to do something for yourself. It did not cost me a penny to go do this parade, and I made 3 amazing friends. 3 amazing friends. And this woman is from my hometown, or one of the cities I'm from, Corpus Christi, and I just found that out just by doing this interview. Stay strong, stay positive, and I look forward to talking to you in a few days. And it's me, Katie Pieterse, doing their very first interview for PACTS International as your new correspondent. I hope that it brought you a little joy, a little laughter, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Love you.
Welcome back. We are talking to Scott Kramer, the PACTS Community Survey Coordinator, about this new project and the validation letter that accompanies it. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Derek.
Can you please tell us about the PACTS Community Survey and the validation letter?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Derek. My name is Scott Kramer. I've been a victim of neurological weapons and Havana syndrome for 23 years. Wanted to get involved with the community and help out and volunteer. So I mentioned to Derek that I had extra time, and we brainstormed and came up with an idea for a letter of validation. I love statistics. I've put together a survey with Derek, which is 104 questions, and we are hoping to show a correlation between our symptoms and those of the diplomats. At the same time, we're hoping to show that there's no correlation between what we're experiencing and that of mental illness. It's a very thorough survey that asks questions that have come up on conference calls, the questions that people have come up with recently over the last 3 or 4 years as far as what's current and what the harassment is. The next thing we've done is we've set up an interview with Derek. Derek will review the survey of the people that are interested in the letter, conduct the interview with them. The interview allows the victim to explain in person to Derek why they think that they're a victim of neurological weapons and Havana syndrome. Derek will issue a draft letter that's been prepared. It will be reviewed by the victim and then personalized for that particular victim. What we're hoping to do is provide something tangible from a legitimate nonprofit organization. In this case, it's PACTS International. It's been set up to provide support and assist victims. And what we would like to do is give the victims something tangible that they can show their family and their friends, colleagues, and doctors what's going on with them. So many times I've complained to people about this, and I get to a point where I've almost convinced them, and their response is, well, even if it's possible, why would they attack you? My response is it's experimental, but having something in writing that's tangible from an actual nonprofit organization to show them reinforces my complaints. The letter will help me out in repairing some of the relationships that have been neglected because of the isolation over my 23 years of experiencing this. We would like to present anonymous results to lawmakers so they can get moving to assist the private citizens that are complaining of this. They've already moved on the diplomats. They've done something about that, but we need to apply a professional scientific process to illustrate to lawmakers that there are private citizens that are dealing with this and their symptoms are all consistent. The letter will not work to open an investigation with the police or the FBI. I would only show them the letter if I was facing a potential hold, 72-hour hold. It's the only way I would voluntarily show them the letter, because the FBI and the police just don't have the capacity to help victims at this point. They're just not capable of it. The information regarding the survey and the validation letter is on the PACTS homepage. And if anybody has any questions or needs any additional information, I can be reached at mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. That is mindcontrolinformation gmail.com. And I really look forward to as many people taking the survey as possible so we can present accurate, valid results to lawmakers to get some sort of assistance to victims as soon as possible.
Thanks, Scott, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Derek.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Kaka. Happy birthday to you. Yeah!
Hi, I'm Amy Dale, and I live in the greater Portland area of Oregon. And I've been a targeted individual for over 20 years. I was so targeted and so frustrated about the targeting and wanting to do something about it that I decided to start a group in Portland, of course, and anyone's welcome to come if they're passing through, or anyone in Oregon is welcome to come. Also, I've been leading the group about once a month for about 8 years now, and I've met a lot of people. A lot of people have come through the group, and I've learned a lot, and I know they have learned a lot, and they've come for different reasons. A couple of the reasons are they wanted to get validated for their targeting. They wanted to get educated about the targeting, and they wanted to get direction about what they can do about the targeting. So we all provided, all of me and the other people in the group provided coping skills and places to go online to get more information, including PACTS International, which I contacted in 2015 when I was looking for help myself. And I started volunteering right away with PACTS International as a helpline advocate. And then I started the group, the Portland TI group. I want everyone to know that the group is because I don't know what to do with my own targeting. If I help other people, I will learn how to cope with my own targeting and how to have more of a quality life. I just want to share that with you. And if you want to get in touch with me, my email address is Amy Dale, DALE, AMYDALE 22 at protonmail.com. Hope to see all of you.
Hi, my name is Scott Cranmer. I've been a victim of Havana syndrome for about 23 years. I live in Los Angeles, and we are forming the Los Angeles Havana Syndrome Group with Michelle Burns. We hope to streamline the activism and network in Los Angeles. We're going to operate under PACTS because we're not going to set up a nonprofit at this point. If you are interested in living in the Los Angeles area, please feel free to email me at mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. Again, it's mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. We believe that every angle of society needs to change to adapt to Havana syndrome. And each segment needs to get involved if we're going to find a solution. That includes the church and the role of the church in society. Victims need a place for solace. The medical community needs to be educated. Currently, they aren't prepared or know how to assist victims. The mental health community needs to be educated. We would like to approach the Los Angeles City Council, the mayor. The mayor is targeting the homeless problem in Los Angeles, and I've spoken with the mayor before. We'd like to contact their office as well as senators, congressmen, and the governor. As a group, we would like to network with nonprofit organizations in Los Angeles. There are a ton of them. The universities do medical studies as far as mental illness. They need to be educated. Private institutions also do medical studies as well. There are a number of Hollywood organizations that we would like to network with and solicit assistance. And the law enforcement and fire departments need to be educated, as well as mindfulness groups. We inspire others by discussing what we accomplished to make our situation better, talk about the positive, and brainstorm ideas. The meeting places can be held in all four corners of the city. Los Angeles is spread out. The goal is to grow and have a West Side division, Valley division, Ventura division, and Southern Orange County division. The groups can cover for each other when things arise. We hope to decentralize the organizational structure so one representative can cover for others. Again, if you live in the Los Angeles area and you're interested, please email me. I can be reached at mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. Thank you for your time.
My name is Jim Schwartz, and I started a TI support group in Cleveland, Ohio in August of 2019. Our first meeting, or my first meetings took place at Shaker Heights Library, and they eventually were moved to Lakewood Library. And the goal was to give area TIs an opportunity to tell their story and learn ways to cope. Our group had picnics in Lakewood Park in 2019 and 2020. In 2021, we took a boat ride on the Good Time 3 on Lake Erie. In 2022, we took a train ride on the Cuyahoga Valley line. This year, we met at Dawes Arboretum in Newark, Ohio, just outside of Columbus. And want to make sure that all TIs are invited, whether you're from Ohio or from Michigan, Pennsylvania, Indiana, or Kentucky. And please contact me at 216-527-8346. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Ann Baker. I'm speaking as a recap on our last conference and rally, which was April the 20th to the 21st of this year in Washington, D.C. Of course, with each time we do these particular functions, we become better and better at it. We did receive a lot of perp activity on this one, as we did the last time. However, this one was a little bit different. Each person was kind of interfered with traumatically. Even my guest speakers, some of them were interfered with traumatically as well. But we managed to get up off the ground floor. We managed to get some things accomplished. Unfortunately, I was not able to do very much at all virtually because I didn't remember the passcode on my laptop computer, which I brought with me, which I plan to conduct all the viral incoming speakers on Zoom. And of course, that didn't happen. But I can say that those individuals who did come in person did get an opportunity to speak. They also did get an opportunity to take pictures, and we did go out to dinner, enjoyed each other's company, and got to know each other a little bit better. But as far as the functions were concerned, the rally itself, we need more participants. We need more people to raise this on their radar, to let them know that these are important issues. When we put together functions, we would like for more and more people to come out to those functions and to take part in those functions. We're not talking about something trivial. We're talking about something that's very significant, and that's our freedom. And we do want to be free from the torture we should never ever have to fight for our freedom, and let alone to be tortured as we're American citizens under the Constitution of the United States. I do want to point out, as I said, with each function we conduct, we learn more and more about what we need to do in order to pull some loose ends together to make sure the functions are more accurate, they're more efficient, and they're more effective. So reaching our legislators to get them to at least come over, take a look at what we have to say, listen to the targeted individuals, and move action on this Havana Syndrome Act of year 2021. I could say that when I was at the rally at the Northwest Gate of the White House, and there were several other targeted individuals there with me from the group, there were several people who participated in that rally. And I'm very thankful for those individuals who sacrificed, who were able to come and participate and become active in their freedom and free from the directed energy weapons as we're targeted every day and hurting so painfully as much. I don't know if you can hear the difference in my voice, but there's a struggle for me to speak. I'm under a lot of attacks, tremendously. But I keep forging on. You find ways to go around them, to go up and through them if possible, and come out and be a strong fighter in knowing what you have to do in order to stay alive. And also, God is giving us all that's necessary for us to be able to pull out as champions and as winners in this fight. And I want to let you know that this is what I do every day. And I have not been very effective in terms of follow-up and constantly keeping people abreast of what I'm doing and what's going on, what is the next thing that I'm going to do. And I want participation. I want people to really take these functions and these activities as groundbreaking activities for our freedom, to let our legislators know we are relentless, we're not giving up, we're not giving in, because that's what they expect. They expect us to give up. They expect us to give in, and that's something that's just not going to happen. We're going to continue to go out. We're going to continually conduct rallies and also conferences. We're going to invite guest speakers. We're going to collect evidence. We're going to mount a defense, not a defense. We're going to mount evidence to show that this has been going on for many long years, and we want compensation and we want medical care as well. Under the Havana Act of year 2021, we would fit perfectly into that avenue rather than creating new legislation. And we know that hands of government moves very slowly. We know that. So this is legislation that's already on the books. We're saying that we want to be included in that legislation rather than starting all over. We want to be included in the existing legislation with some type of executive order, and we know the president can do that. We know he can sign some executive order that would include all American citizens based on the fact you cannot exclude us. We must be included. We will not be discriminated against by all means. We must be included in this legislation. And as I was saying, we stayed at pretty much the same places a Days Inn of Wyndham, which is where I stayed last time as well. And so the accommodations were so okay, and we're not there for any type of luxury treatment or anything like that. We're there to get business done and to let our legislators know that this is important work that we definitely take seriously. So we were there for Thursday and Friday. Of course, that was kind of the upswing of things that we did. And I want to point out to all the listeners of this audio tape that there was a motorcade that pulled right in front of me as I was there at the rally. Excuse me. On 2 consecutive occasions, this motorcade, the president's motorcade, pulled right in front of me. I want to tell you They're looking at how effective we are. They're looking at the things we say. They're looking at our signs. They're looking at what we have to say and what we're doing there. Our numbers are important. Please come out to these events. I beg you to come out to these events. Take part in them. Participate. Participate in your freedom. Of course, you should have never had to fight for this, but we are here. And this is what we are doing. We are fighting for our freedom. We're fighting for our rights under the Constitution as an American citizen. We must do everything we can do to get our numbers up, to show that we are huge numbers across the United States. We must continue to reach out to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the social media platforms, to let people know who are targeted individuals to come out and to participate, to show our numbers. Also, you know, I'm still collecting the headshots of individuals, the photo headshots. Please continue to send them to my phone. I'm going to keep up the easel board. I have lots of people who did participate. Send me your headshots. Send them to my phone number, which is 312-388-5329. Send them to my phone number, your headshots, so I can include them on the easel board that I've been collecting headshots of individuals who are targeted across the United States. I have a lot of people who did participate in that, and I really, really do appreciate it. There were 2 or 3 individuals who did come out to our conference last time. I don't know who they were. They could have been representatives who are from our legislators who came out to listen to us. It is important. It is crucially important that we show up, people, that we show up in numbers and we make a difference. That is our contribution to our freedom. We are in this situation. We are not going to be giving any type of easy access to this ending, as you know, because you've been writing letters too. I've been writing letters, and essentially we've been ignored. So we gotta keep coming out. We gotta hope that the press will eventually pick this up, and we will definitely blow this up in the press, for sure, because the president can't say that he never knew about it. He can't say that. He's gotten so many letters from us, and we've been documenting that he's been getting so many letters from us, and he's been doing nothing, absolutely nothing in terms of helping and aiding and assisting us. And we insist that we deserve compensation. We insist that we deserve medical care and a whole string of other things that we do deserve, since we've been tortured so miserably for a lot of years. I know a lot of us have been tortured for many, many years, and we do deserve compensation. We want our freedom back without hesitation. So as these functions are coming up, please do participate. You got to know, if I'm not coming up with some type of recap on our last event, I'm not participating on that level. I'm not coming out doing presentations on the calls. You got to know that there's a reason. I'm being hurt tremendously, and a lot of mind control is going on. But I do want you to know my heart is sincere. I do want you to know that God is definitely on our side. There's no doubt our freedom is something that we were born with. Our freedom is something we're not going to give up on. And by all means, torture in place for what we've been going through is a horrible thing to even conceive of. And we've been dealing with it. So you got to know we all are fighting for the same things and moving in the right direction. So if I'm not on the calls, I'm not doing presentations, it's because I'm hurting tremendously, and it's terribly difficult for me to get on the calls presently. But hopefully, and with God's mercy and all of his blessings that he's giving to all of us, to still be here and to still be alive and still be working for our freedom and compensation and medical care under Havana Act of year 2021, you got to know that we're doing all we can do to proceed with that. And I need your help and your support and continually to do these particular functions and activities, as I will be setting up another GoFundMe to help fund these particular activities and these events, as I plan to do them at least twice a year. Also, one other thing to keep in mind also, there's a walk across Selma Bridge next year, about February. President Joe Biden does it every year. We want to definitely be there. We want to be there in person. We want to let Joe Biden know that we are targeted individuals and we are not giving up, we're not giving in, and we want relief. We want to be included in that legislation for Havana Act of year 2021, because that's where we deserve to be. We deserve compensation, we deserve medical care, and a whole slew of other things we deserve too legally. We deserve it legally. And so as this event is coming up next February, year 2024, be ready, people. Be ready to come out in droves. Be ready to participate and show that we deserve and want our freedom, as we are American-born citizens here in this country, and we are continually fighting. We're relentless. We're not giving up. This is not something that's going to be going away, and we're sick and tired of it being swept under the rug. So I really do appreciate your participation. Send me your headshots too, to be included on the easel board that shows targeted individuals across this country. And when you see these flyers coming up, also on Derek's bulletin, in his bulletin, you would see the flyers too. I'm going to try to submit some to Derek too as well, so that he can put those up too as well, to let you know that we're fighting, and we do need your help and support to keep continually fighting. I want to let you know that I'm here. I have not disappeared. I'm just struggling with what I'm going through, as I know you are too. God will continue to bless us all and keep us moving forward. Whatever speed we need to do and whatever we need to do in order to be able to accomplish this, we are doing it. We are forging through it, around it, under it, and over the top of it. So we are coming out. We're still alive. We're still fighting, and God is definitely on our side. Continue to bless all targeted individuals across this country. In Jesus' name, I pray forever and ever. Amen.
Hi, this is Gloria Sterling-McGill, Managing Editor of The Discussion, PACTS International's quarterly magazine, letting everyone know that our summer-fall 2023 edition is now for sale. The link to order the magazine is displayed on the PACTS International website homepage, and the theme for this edition is Be a Catalyst for Change in our community and our nation. We appreciate your support.
Welcome back. We are talking to David Ruble, inventor of the Cyber Shield, and the Cyber Shield owner, Jack Domnitz. Welcome, guys, to the program.
Hey, glad to be here.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Hello.
Okay. David, why don't we start with you? Can you tell us about the Cyber Shield? What is the Cyber Shield?
Sure. So the Cyber Shield is some hardware that I've been developing for several years. Development would have started back around 2019 at some of the most basic levels of development. And what it's intended to do is be able to use ELF and VLF effects, all based off different neuroscience research, to be able to protect from a lot of the different actions that take place for people who are targeted. So These are going to be different physical actions and neurological actions as well. So some of the things, for example, it helps deal with some of the different pain that you're going to be having. And as far as the different neurological effects, the things like confusion, lethargy, balance issues, even promote different emotional problems where your emotions are being manipulated and pushed very strongly into one direction or another, and just really a lot of the things that a TI has to deal with. This equipment is designed to help with those different effects that are taking place. It's not 100% yet on its coverage, but it's getting better and better. You know, every month that goes by, we're continuing to make improvements. We're continuing to develop more modules for it. One of the big improvements that we've had recently is the introduction of some V2K modules. So we made some changes recently to the device. We created a new interface. There's a whole lot of different options you can select from for the type of coverage you're going to get. You can customize it and tailor it towards yourself as well once you have the equipment. And what the users have been doing is they've been taking some of the new modes that we have that were having some good effect against V2K, and they've been sending in their customizations to me of every time that they successfully knock V2K out, then they communicate what their settings were, and we build them into this new V2K module. And for some users, it's been wiping their V2K out, sometimes for days at a time, before we need to try to make an adjustment to the modules. So that's some really exciting news there. I know that's a big one for people, but overall, we're trying to create a balance of being able to protect from all the different things that can happen to somebody. It helps cover a lot of different things, such as people having problem focusing on stuff, people having problem remembering things. All those are different kinds of effects, especially in the prefrontal cortex area, which put your hand on your forehead, slide it right up here around this area when you're, you know, getting headaches, stuff like that around that area. And it's causing a lot of confusion, disorientation, even having your balance thrown off. You know, I know some people refer to it as they're bouncing off the walls sometimes. And so it blocks the different effects that they're having on the different areas of the brain and starts to restore that control back to you, so that things start to go back to normal and you can start to, you know, live your life normally again. Some of the things that people have problems with are the headaches. It does help any headaches that are created by their targeting. It helps to start alleviating those headaches. As soon as you flip it on, you'll feel it starting to degrade. The people that are getting the neck pain, and interesting enough, right shoulder pain. So I haven't really heard anybody ever complaining about the left shoulder, but the people who are, if you're getting pain in the right shoulder and in your neck, it'll help with that. It helps with the different effects that can be going on at the back of the head, different pulsing effects where it feels like your muscles are being pulsed or your blood pressure is being pulsed. It can help with the different dream manipulations that people have, where different visual effects are being created, either waking or sleeping. It really kind of runs the gamut on being able to cover all the different effects that they try to create on you. The biggest areas where we're doing a lot of work still is going to be on the V2K, but we've been making a whole lot of progress there on being able to actually give people the ability to press a button and shut the V2K off, which is amazing. But that area is getting really good now. The other area then for heavy focus is on the physical side of things. So it protects from a lot of different physical effects where you're going to feel like pain, itching, pinches, shocks, all the different, we can sum it all up as physical effects. So the coverage for that kind of varies from person to person depending on their targeting, but it can knock a lot of that out. Some of it still remains behind, and those are the kind of things we're still working on. I like to be transparent about you know, what we can do well, and then the areas we're still working on. So the physical is an area we're still working on, but it does offer great coverage on that. Jax, for example, if she wanted to talk about it at some point, she could kind of talk about how some of the physical protection works for her. She's had to deal with some pretty extreme cases of physical assault at times from what takes place. So maybe, Jax, would you want to comment on that for a moment?
Yeah, well, the new interface is allows me to have live action in the battlefield of attacks is what, and I've noticed that before I would have to endure, before you did this new interface, I would have to endure my attacks until you had time to come in and do an adjustment and or do an update. And now I can manage it myself. And this has been just a lifesaver. We're all excited about it. And I can show, this is where I'd like to show the audience the a picture of the interface that I have here. Let me pull that up. So you could see one of the coverages, I took a picture of my favorite setting I use most of the time. It's full coverage. And that I usually have to go very low to the 300 down. So what it is the slide bars. See these two blue lines right here? The upper bar is a primary and the lower bar is a primary. And there's a methodology. One has to be lower than the other. And then you also have these customized preset on the right. That's where it says V2K, then 300 to 400, all the way down to 35 to 110. Those are for quick settings. When you're under attack, you could just click it and go to, then you click on your module, which is like normal, burst mode, full 10K, full coverage, random, low EMF, anti-D, DLPFC, and then we have number 2. There, he added a module that's anti-PTSD2 and DLPFC2. Then we have the quad heterodyne. Then we have PFC, which is the prefrontal cortex, and of course the V2K settings, where customers have sent in their favorites. Then I requested the wake and the sleep mode. Then we have the quad heterodyne mode 2. So I have just loved being live in the battlefield, and when those perps decide to hit me, I can come in and just flip them off. And it's the best thing ever. It's like David really has done it, and I have so much hope. What? Go ahead.
So are there like modules for various areas of the body? Is that how it works?
Well, David.
So some of these modules, they'll target specific areas of the brain as far as what areas they're affecting, and you can select different modes. Like the PFC is prefrontal cortex, DLPFC is dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So some of the neurological modes you can kind of pick based on where you feel something's taking place. If you feel something's taking place in front, you can use like normal and PFC modes. If it's around on the sides of it, you can use the DLPFC mode. 10K works great for the back of the head, the neck, areas like that. And then all the other stuff is kind of a mix of overall coverages that are going to be neurological and physical. So the physical, you don't really pick an area of the body for physical protection. We just have some coverages like normal, full coverage, quad heterodyne, and those can have different coverages that whatever's physically going on, they have protection in that. The 10K can do that as well. That has some different peripheral nervous system blocks built into it. But it's going to be the neurological modes then, where when you have a heavy problem going on in a specific area, then you'll be able to pick these modes and you literally feel them get wiped right out of that area. So it's really cool when you actually if you actually get to sit down and use one of these, that you can kind of flip through the modes. And if you're, if you're on, especially if you're under heavy attack, you can immediately feel the impact of the equipment on that area. So you've got the right mode selected. There's really, there's no questioning or no doubts when you get the right mode, and it just knocks out whatever you're dealing with at the moment. So that is an interesting thought, though, and I guess kind of if I can get some feedback from some of the users, we could probably tailor some more specific physical modes where it could cover specific physical effects or specific areas of the body. But I'm not sure that we've really needed that kind of a mode yet. I think what works well for physical protection kind of covers everything in general, and it's really more about making sure you have the right mode selected, and then being able to adjust your primaries and kind of get the module that's working customized specifically towards you. And that's one of the really big changes that we've made recently in the past few months, and everybody is absolutely loving the ability now that they can tailor this equipment towards themselves. And as I mentioned before, it's been a really huge asset on being able to create the V2K module. So another guy I work with, Danielle, he's actually flying out here from New York later. He accidentally had somebody helping him change a cable out on his equipment that he actually accidentally broke, and they accidentally broke it worse. So he's going to be out here later today for an emergency repair. But he is actually to credit for, discussing some different neurological or different neuroscience research with me, and helped me come up with the idea for the quad heterodyne mode. And when we came up with that mode and then we gave the users the ability to actually customize their equipment and dial it in specifically for their needs, we started learning we could knock V2K out with the quad heterodyne mode when things were configured correctly. So, he's a huge asset in this new V2K module we got, and the users themselves are a huge asset in being able to continue to refine this V2K module. And that's kind of one of the things that we're looking for as we move forward now, that we're going to be giving users more ability to customize and direct control over their equipment, and being able to really get granular on what it's doing for them, and then to really fine tune it for them. And in the process of that, they're able to provide feedback back to me when they find some settings that work really exceptional for what they're dealing with. And then we're going to be able to start really creating a lot of these tailored modules for the users, and it's going to get a lot better. So that, thankfully we're at the point now where we can actually get really good feedback from the users, because they're making adjustments to the equipment themselves. They're they're providing that feedback back, so that we can put all these custom settings into a module and they generally work for everybody. So when we get the right settings identified, what we'll see is all the users start providing feedback of the same different settings, the same primary ranges, the same modules, and then we know that we have some really good information coming in to build a new module. And so the V2K is really the first major module in that, and it's been phenomenal for the users who have V2K. I love hearing from them, especially after they get a fresh update that, they hit that button. I'm like, oof, and the voice is instantly gone. And, one of the users, Deb, she's managed to go, she said, for at least a couple days at a time with the V2K completely knocked out. And so we've got a new module now. We've got a V2K2 module, which is the V2K module, but then this has some slight hardware variation to it, in that it changes the operation of the hardware just a little bit, so that when they start to defeat the V2K module, which happens every now and then, or which happens, after a little bit of time, they'll kind of learn to counteract against it. But now with these alternate modes, you'll be able to just run right over and flip to the other mode and then it just re-wipes it out again, and then they have to recalibrate their equipment against the other mode, and then once they do that, you can flip it right back over to the other mode, and they're right back to square one where they were in the first place. So it's really cool. We're at a really cool point of the development and the advancements we're making, and it depends on, you know, the users themselves to help us identify, you know, what works best against these different type of attacks. So that's what I think is kind of important in the development of it at this point, is that this development is really based on you guys, the users of the equipment, the people who purchase it, and making it better for everybody else. When you find what works for you, it probably works for everybody else. So I'm really looking forward to providing a lot more customization. Yeah.
I wanted to, I was wondering about the device and how you got the idea for it. Is it something that you, was there something that this is a modification of something, or did you kind of build it from scratch from your own idea or concepts? How did it start?
So it came completely from scratch. You know, if we want to really go back, if we want to take it way back, all the way back when I first realized something was going on, and I realized it had to do with the EM spectrum, electromagnetic, which that covers a wider gamut than most people think. The way that I realized it is I had this hobby with FPV drones, and so some of the equipment we have spectral analyzers on it so that we can make sure we got good signals, or we're using good channels for the different video feeds and stuff like that. And I would start seeing anomalies on this equipment in the spectral analyzers, and I didn't know what they were. You know, they looked like broadcast channels, but you'd tune to them and there was nothing there. It wasn't actual proper signal, especially for the range that it was in. But I didn't know what was going on yet. And then I started going through some of the problems, you know, that a lot of people start going through initially, that is designed to really throw you off and mislead you and misdirect you. But in the process of that, I realized that the intensities of some of what was going on, I was actually seeing in some of this drone equipment that I had in the spectral analyzers. So I could tell when things were getting heavy, I could actually see the readings on equipment. And that kind of confirmed to me that, you know, this was some kind of electronic warfare going on. And I just, you know, I didn't know quite what yet, but I knew enough then that it set me on the path to start working on the equipment and working on the development. So at that point, what I started doing was I figured, okay, maybe since it shows up on my equipment, maybe my own drone equipment could have an impact. So I tried doing some little tests, like taking the antennas off my drone equipment and then turning it on the transmitters, and to see if it would have an effect. And the answer is it had an effect. So that kind of led me down the path that, okay, so if I have the ability to produce electronic signals, if I produce them in the right way or do the right thing with these signals, then I can 100% have an effect against what's going on. Initially, something simple as taking the antenna off the transmitter from my remote control was enough to really knock it down initially, because I think this was something they never kind of expected. But, you know, you fast forward, after a few months, it didn't work anymore. They figured out how to counter against it. So what that led me to do then was to head online and start purchasing different RF equipment. So I started purchasing different amplifiers, different frequency synthesizers, frequency generators. I started doing, I think, of the things that a lot of people do that I've seen that where they've done, where I basically tried to see if there was a signal to jam. And what I learned in that was no, jamming isn't the answer for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, they can just overpower jamming equipment. So it really doesn't do anything unless you had military grade, super powerful equipment. A jammer is not going to do anything. So, but I still gave it a good shot anyway. I built custom software. I hooked it up to some different spectral analyzers. So I had software analyzing the spectrum, looking for different anomalies in the signal, then sending the frequencies that it would find as candidates over to the frequency synthesizer equipment that I had. So again, I was trying a jamming battle thinking it would help, and I was trying active jamming battle with software thinking maybe if it was faster it would work. No matter how fast you go, it just didn't cut it. And so I kind of realized that, okay, there's got to be another answer to this. It's not as simple. They're not just sending a signal out and it's having an effect. It's more complicated than that. This is scientific and it involves science. So what I did at that point was I started going out and I started reading different scientific research, not only in radio waves, but in RF equipment, in RF engineering, but in neuroscience. And that actually is where my biggest breakthrough came, was reading some different neuroscience research experiments where they were doing they were doing these heterodyning effects with the equipment, and they were using it to treat a variety of different neurological conditions in different areas of the brain. So what I realized is with the array of equipment that I had, if I built the right software for it, that I could create the same effects that they were creating in these different neuroscience research projects. And at that point, then I just needed to know the right combinations of how to make this equipment work together, how to make them recreate these same effects from the neuroscience research. And so I gave it a shot. The first thing that I ended up testing actually came out of it was research for Parkinson's disease. And so I figured, okay, I'm going to try to recreate this Parkinson's disease research project wirelessly with RF equipment, since I had a whole array of hardware to do it. And when I did it, it had a huge impact on the targeting. And that was kind of that was my big aha moment, the biggest one of all, of, okay, this is how they're doing it. Everything made sense, that they needed to use the same kind of array, the same, multiple signals, where you're actually merging several different signals together in the right way to create the proper effects that you need. And so from there, once I realized it worked, then I used some other research that I had. I had put a lot of stuff out. I know before in the past, I was telling people about these infrasound analyzers and ultrasound analyzers. So, but the big area was the infrasound analyzer. So I used this infrasound app to analyze the different infrasound frequencies that were taking place. Now, bear in mind, I'm not analyzing it from the aspect of audio, not actual sound. Even though I'm saying infrasound, I'm looking at it more as an infrasonic, which means low frequency. Low frequencies, infrasonics have neurological effects on the brain. They run at frequencies that the brain normally operates in, and when they get really low, they can actually have some really negative effects, such as creating like fear and paranoia, stress, things like that. So in the analysis of the environment around me for these infrasonics, I identified several key ranges that they were operating in, several key frequencies of infrasound that are not supposed to exist in your environment. When you find these kind of things in your environment, you're supposed to track down the source and find a way to get rid of them, because again, they can have neurological effects on you. So I took all the research then that I had from the infrasonics, and I started applying it then to custom modules in the equipment. And then that's where the breakthrough kind of took the next big step, is that being able to identify those ranges and then being able to directly counter against them at the same frequencies using the same type of effects that they would use, it started knocking things out. So the big one is when I put in the ranges for what was creating a lot of the effects up here in the prefrontal cortex. And I mean, it just immediately, it was like instantaneous. It was like shutting the stress emotions off. The stress was just instantly gone. I all of a sudden felt comfortable again. Headache I had at the moment started immediately going away. Different kind of nausea, disorientation, balance issues. Everything was immediately fixed as soon as I put in those first infrasonic ranges. And that was when I knew then I had the right information and I had the right research at that point to develop a solution. And from that point on, that's where development grew then, was once I had real research, real scientific peer-reviewed research, I was able to recreate their effects, but with wireless equipment so that you're not having to, strap electrodes to your body or other stuff. And then I had additional research, environmental research of different signals, frequencies taking place around me, and I could mix the two together and I knew it worked. Then that's when I really, buckled down, started purchasing a lot more hardware. And really at that point, it was about trying to figure out low cost equipment that I could purchase that would be suitable to do the work that needed to be done, and being able to start to throw together a package with enough equipment and enough hardware to have a significant effect. Because obviously they have a lot of effects they do a lot of things at once. They like to stack things up on you. So it takes more than just, one simple solution going against it. You need several solutions working together all at once. And that's kind of what things evolved into, was trying to figure out how much hardware do I need. Okay, coverage is great with this many modules, being able to protect this many areas at once. Can we add more hardware to it? Does it help to add more hardware? And things just kind of built up to the point of the Cyber Shield. And once we kind of maxed out what's called the GPIO on the Raspberry Pis that we use, we maxed out basically every data connection that we could use on that board. It's got 40 pins on it, and we just filled that thing up with hardware, and it seemed to be a good balance. And we ended up packaging it up into what you guys see today as Cyber Shield.
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask Jax one more question. As the leader of the Cyber Shield owners group, what do most Cyber Shield owners say about the device? How has it affected them?
Well, the most positive thing has been the new interface, giving them control when they need it, and not having to wait for David to do an adjustment on the primaries. And he was able to do these things quickly when we got through to him, but now we're able to do it ourselves. And they have a lot of questions about what are all the modules. New users have more types of questions about that, and how to use the slide bars, how do we use the customized settings, and how do we get rid of certain problems like burning. I was getting burning. I had burning on my feet, very intense, the other night, and I had to dial it all the way over to 3100 or 4100 over 4200, which is like the highest settings you can go on the primaries. But it stopped the burning. It stopped it. So I mean, that having that ability, where before I would have been aching all night and trying to shield until David was available the next morning, it's made all the difference. It's really, time has been a positive investment for us, and that's why I'm so glad that I got it early, because I do see the effects of the long-term use, Derek. So that, to answer that question, if you would like, I would like to elaborate a little bit on the positive mental attitude of the users, because that has been extremely helpful for me. And I like to teach that to the group. And one of the things, I accidentally find things out. And about a month ago, I left David a message and I said, David, I am getting some kind of arthritic attack. All my joints, they're aching and hurting all of my joints. I feel depressed in my brain, like I'm old, like I'm just getting old and messed up. And well, I am getting older, but I don't feel like that. I'm a healthy old person. But when I listened to the message back, I was like, yeah, that's it. And it was a positive message because I was saying, I am not arthritic and I am not depressed. So why do I keep getting this? And when I listened to it 2 or 3 times, it vanished because I believed it. David, I know you have some
Right, and,
comment.
It's interesting you say that because I have tried to tell people a lot of times, even on a lot of the calls, it matters what you believe. It's one of the most powerful things that you can know. If you believe the wrong things, that becomes a vulnerability to you, and they are going to exploit that to the fullest potential and manipulate you in any way, shape, or form possible. So, and that's how a lot of their bad psychology spreads, is when somebody believes the wrong thing, and then that's what on their side of the program they call it a fracture. And when they fractured somebody, then they want them to spread what has fractured them. So when they believe that, they become fractured, and then like a disease, it spreads out to everybody else. And when you pick up on those things, they try to manipulate that vulnerability that you believe those kind of things. So amazingly, when you have the power and ability to emotionally and mentally be able to make a decision and not be forced into it, which is what this equipment can do, it helps to start giving you the freedom of choice back. Then we like to tell you, make sure you're making good decisions, make sure you're keeping your thoughts in the places where you want them to be. Don't focus on the wrong things, don't dwell. And you're able to actually break out of this different mental conditioning that they would try to force on you like that. And when you break it down, because you won't give in what you believe, when they try to program a false belief into you and reject it, they give up on it. And in some cases, like Jack's experience with, they'll immediately abort what they're trying to do to you when they realize, okay, this isn't going to have an effect. And if they keep trying to do it, it's probably going to break something else for them in the process. So they'll give up and try to protect what they have left and try to fight that fight another day. But to kind of touch on some of what Derek was actually trying to ask you, I mean, what he was wondering about, like how it works for some of the other users. So, like for example, we got a lot of users several who have bought a second Shield now because they're so happy with their first, and they wanted to try different things to have additional coverage. Like one of them, for example, is Caesar. He's down in Mexico. He is able to work very productively every day. He's a software developer, computer programmer, and for him, I guess the targeting in Mexico for him must be a little bit easier, because it really, for him, it made massive improvements in his life, and he's able to work and be productive, so much so he wants a second Shield now. So his is actually being built and going to be ready here within the next few weeks. There's a 4 to 6 week lead time on the equipment. Unfortunately, it just takes some time to build. Some of the parts have to come from China. It takes some time for the parts to come in. But anyway, I don't want to get off too far in the wrong direction. We had another set of users, actually, a father and son. Their mother bought them this. These guys tried everything on the planet that you could imagine. I mean, they've got the little spark gap generators. They've got little ultrasonic arrays of microphones and scramblers and all this other stuff. I mean, everything that you ever heard that somebody tried out there, these guys either built it themselves or bought it and tried it, and nothing was working. And their mom, great lady, she went out and bought them the Shield. It was, expensive piece of equipment then. It costed more than it costs now. That was back when it was $3,600 total. They're $2,900 now, so huge discount now. But for them, it made such a difference. It restored back to him his ability to start doing the things he wanted to do again and not suffer. But more importantly, his son, the impact on his son, because the son hadn't really been targeted for as long, was phenomenal. This guy, when they got the shield, within a week, he was back to work. His son had a job. His son had a girlfriend. He was playing video games again. You know, this is a young adult who's supposed to be like in, you know, living some of the best time of his life, and they had this guy kind of shut down to where he was dysfunctional. And you know, that's the kind of thing that we see with you know, some of our users who they maybe not been able to work anymore. We see them able to go back to work or to continue working and to be able to start resuming some of the normal daily activities that they, you know, had taken away from them and didn't feel like they were capable of doing anymore, wanted to do anymore. So we see this transition then where people are starting to pick the pieces of their life back up, and they're starting to break down the different conditioning and starting to just become normal people again. And, you know, Jax, I'm sure could tell you even more stories of that.
Yeah, I do take back my life, but not all of it. There is social engineering. I can't do commission sales because they're sabotaged. They contact my leads and tell them I'm under investigation or what have you, and they abandon my sale. So I had to step down from that type of work in my company, and now I do driving. I drive and do a lot of deliveries in my car. And of course I do the desk work and interviews still. I've always done the human resources, but I enjoyed having a commission-based job and teaching people how to do that. And I had to abandon it. So no, I can't do everything. It's unfortunate. But the Cyber Shield has given me my body and mind. And I also see that it has taught me the importance of positive attitude. But because using the Cyber Shield has reinforced a biblical verse that's Proverbs 23:7, I think it's, for as a man thinketh, so he is. So whatever you think, it is biblically true that you are what you think. And if you think that you are never going to be free, and you're getting hit with lasers, masers, and satellites and cell phone towers and aliens, you will
They'll make it
that.
as real. They'll make it as real as they can make that for you. If you whatever you believe, they'll try to make it real for you. Some of it is obvious, grains of salt. There's truth to some of how people are manipulated and targeting, but remember, you know, we know the background from this stuff. It came from the CIA. A lot of this, well, the technology was before that, but it went through the CIA, and they worked on some heavy psychological manipulation programs, as well as other things that go along with it. And before it kind of got handed over to the next people, up to the military, then and whomever else, you know, is in control of the technology. But you know, these were smoke and mirrors. These guys were illusion artists, and you can't take everything at face value as the truth and as real and as being real in this. If you do, then that becomes a vulnerability, and wherever you are vulnerable, they are going to attack. So, you know, interesting enough, even if something's true, you can actually choose to not believe that it's true, and you take away that vulnerability. It's just something to kind of think about. It can become hard when you're neurologically messed with this kind of technology, but it is possible to reject that, to reject their scripting. And I guess it's probably important to say it that way because people understand that there's scripting involved in this. And if you follow along with the script and if you believe in it, then they will make sure they take advantage of it to the fullest. So interesting enough, the safest place you can be is trying to abandon a lot of the beliefs that you have about where it's coming from and who's doing it and why they're doing it and how they're doing it and what they're using and, you know, all that different stuff. I know it sounds kind of a crazy thing because it's like, you know, well, I mean, these people are messing with you every day. It's kind of hard not to think about all this stuff, but honestly, I mean, it's not what people want to be doing anyway. You want to be having your own thoughts. You want to have your own mind. You want to be going out and doing the things that you want to do. And you don't have time to be thinking about these people in the first place. This isn't conductive to the way you want to be living your life. With that being said, you know, anytime when it's within your ability to just reject it all and just, you know what, I don't want to do this today. I just don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe this is happening, even though things are happening to me. Obviously, I don't want to believe what everybody's saying is happening and how it's happening and why and who, and just not think about it, not worry about it, not give into it, not believe it. There's protection in that. By believing it, anything you believe in could be potentially used against you. So
Yeah.
rejecting as much of it as you can, forget whether it's real or not, forget whether it's true or not. Just everything you can reject makes you safer. And whether you have equipment or not, that's one of the most important things you can learn is you have to reject these people. And when we say reject these people, it means fully. You don't want to waste your time on it. Don't waste your effort on it. Don't commit to any belief so that you don't commit any time to it. And instead, try to do everything you can. Anytime you feel like you're being steered towards them, steer yourself back away into something. You know, do something for your, if you're hearing this kind of message for the first time today, stop thinking about them and do something for yourself today. Stop doing what they want you to do. Stop thinking about them all the time. Stop talking about them all the time. Stop feeding into it. Stop fueling the process. Stop making yourself vulnerable. Instead, if you hear this message today, decide against that and do something different. Instead of sitting there worrying about it, go out and do something today and try to do everything you can to not worry about them, or call up an old friend to strike up a conversation. But don't talk about this stuff. Talk about like the good old days, the good old times or something. Just do anything that is not following along with the process, following along with the program. There is inherent danger in that. The more that you think about them, the more that you believe, the more that you follow along. So really, you know, the biggest power that you can have for yourself is to reject them and to do something different. Don't follow the patterns. People worry about the weapons a lot. The weapons are terrible. The tools are terrible. They're devastating how they can be used, but it's a distraction from the psychology. The psychology is what is most dangerous. The psychology is it's psychological warfare at the military level. This is the stuff that is designed to win wars. When one nation fights another nation, this is the psychology you use to destroy and disarm an entire nation to be able to succeed against them in a military battle. That's the kind of psychology you're dealing with. Always protect your mind, protect your psychology. There's a psychological battle going on for your mind. Don't give your mind to them. Don't feed into it. It has a really effective range in the ballpark of 5 to 15 feet where it becomes highly effective. Most new users like to stay near their equipment initially, some of them within the 5 to 10 foot range, at least initially at first, and then to explore a little further away as they got to do things around their house, if they got to cook, clean. But the coverage does extend further than that. Once you've been around the equipment a little bit and you've been able to start to decouple and decondition a little bit, people will feel comfortable further away where, yes, you know, you can get coverage throughout the home. The father and son combo that I was talking about, you know, the father has it on one floor, the son's on another floor, and it helps them both. And, you know, people can go outside and do yard work and have coverage potentially, depending on the placement of the equipment. But there's factors that play into your coverage. So metal attenuates signals. So if you have like metal siding, that can disrupt your coverage outside of the home because your signal won't be able to get out there very strongly. Things in your home. So if you're going from one room to another, if you're in the kitchen and you have a refrigerator between you and the equipment, if you're standing in that spot or sitting at a table in that spot, things like that affect your coverage. But some people can get coverage throughout their entire home, or at least, in the primary areas where they're usually going to be living and spending most of their time.
Okay. Well, looks like we've having to wrap up at this time, but we appreciate David, you and Jax joining us today and hearing about the Cyber Shield, and we wish you all the best in this endeavor. Thank you all for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Derek. Always a pleasure, and I'll definitely have to hop on another call with you guys soon. I always love doing your guys' show. You guys have like some of the best callers and some of the best listeners and great questions and stuff. So, we'll be looking at setting something up again to do that again soon. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, Matt Ehlers, VP of Sales with WorldTech Shielding and Survival Solutions. I want to thank David and Jax for the great information and updates on Cyber Shield, and also to let everyone know that the Cyber Shield is now available for sale on the WorldTech Shielding and Survival Solutions website. You can find the link for the store in the PACTS newsletter. And if you have been considering buying a Cyber Shield, now is a great time to do so because we have some special promotional pricing available. You can simply click on the link, get to the WorldTech Shielding and Survival Solutions site, and you'll see a tab just for Cyber Shield. Click on that and you can get the information for ordering your very own Cyber Shield. I hope everyone has a great day and stay safe out there.
And that's our show for today. We hope you enjoyed today's program. We'd like to thank our guests, Ann Baker, Scott Cranmer, Amy Dale, Jax Domnitz, Matt Ehlers, David Ruble, Jim Schwartz, Gloria Sterling-McGill, Melanie Fritchen, as well as our PACTS correspondent, Katie Pieterse, for participating in this episode. And if you liked our program, please remember to give us a like and subscribe to be alerted of future episodes. And coming up soon is a developing story about Havana syndrome and how it is finally becoming recognized as a condition affecting civilian citizens. This story could be the breakthrough news item that our community has been in search of. And now peace and blessings to all until next time on PACTS International TV.